Here we are at the login screen, and we'll go ahead and log in as the admin. After authentication, we're presented with the default page, which is our dashboard. Since we're here, let's go over how to navigate HQ and manage the dashboard. Topmost in the page, you'll find the most recent alerts. In this case, we have a JVM high memory usage alert. You can click the link and go directly into working the issue right from here. Moving to the right, we see we're logged in as HQ, which is the username for the admin account. We can click to view or modify our user attributes like email and SMS contact info. Next is the sign out link, and then screencast, which would take us to more videos like this. The last link along the top is the help link, which takes us to Hyperic support resources. Moving on down the page, we have our top level navigation tabs where we can browse our resources, run reports and manage alerts, administer user group and system preferences, and of course return to the dashboard. To the right, we have a system-wide search box. After we type a few letters, a list of resources begins to auto-populate beneath it. This is a feature that's new to 4.0 and is available from any page within HQ. On the next line down, we can select a different dashboard and see, for example, how the guest user has their dash configured. Note that their dash looks different from the admin dash. Which brings us to the portlet section of the dashboard. Portlets are your shortcut views into the infrastructure. At a glance, we can see things like group alerts and save charts. The portlets are arranged in a two-column layout. You can drag the portlets up and down in the column like this. At the bottom of each column, you can add new portlets. For example, we can add a new metric viewer to the right-hand column. Save, and there it is in the column. And I can click on it and start defining what will appear here. Since I already have a good example of a metric viewer in this column, I'll delete this one, which we can do by clicking the red X. So let's go back and take a look at what some of these portlets do. On the left, we have another search where we can filter by category like platform or service. For example, if we want to search for Linux in servers, we'll find the VM dev server. Beneath that, we have our Save Charts portlet. We're currently auto-cycling through 2 charts every 30 seconds. We can also just manually cycle through them. Click the gear and we can turn off the chart rotation and adjust the interval or date range. We'll get into how you add save charts to this portlet when we move over to the Resources tab. Next, we have a simple availability metric. If we click the gear, we can add and remove resources from this portlet. Lastly, in this column, we have a list of recently added resources, and we can adjust the number of resources that will appear here. Moving to the top of the right-hand column, we have a Group Alerts portlet. It gives us red, yellow, and green light status on the listed groups. We can click the gear and add and remove groups from this view. For example, I can add virtual machines, save, and there they appear. Right beneath that, we have one of the most useful features in HQ, Auto Discovery. This is a seasoned environment, so right now there are no new or modified resources appearing. If there were, you could click and add them as a resource and begin to manage them. You can also adjust the max number of resources that will appear here by clicking the gear. Beneath that, we have recent alerts. We see that our JVM memory usage alert from the header has been going on a while. We also see that it hasn't been fixed or acknowledged. By clicking the gear, we can also see how easily we can adjust the number, severity, range, and filter of what alerts appear in this portlet. Next, we have a metric viewer. This one is monitoring Tomcat 5.5 average response time. Clicking on the admin gear, we can adjust the description, resource type, and number of resources that will appear in the portlet. We can also set which resource and which metric we want to watch. The last portlet in this column is favorite resources, which are just that. Here I can add to my list. Let's add Fedora and Red Hat. Save. And now they appear on our list of favorites. That about wraps up our tour of the dashboard, so let's move on to the Resources tab. The Resources tab gives us a drop-down with links to browse our resources, check on our Nagios availability, list resources that are currently down, or quickly get back to our 10 most recently viewed resources. Let's browse our resources. From here, we can search, sort, view, and manage our resources and platforms, and create groups and alerts. From the Tools menu, we can create a new application, group, or platform. Next, we have an area where we can search by keyword, filter by platform or group, see only unavailable resources, see only resources owned by this user, matching any or all terms. We can sort our resources by things like platform, servers, and services, and switch from the list view to the chart view. If we click into one of these charts, we can save the chart to our dashboard and then go to the dashboard, and the chart has now been added to the rotation of our Save Charts portlet. Looking back at the Browse Resources view, we see that each resource line lists some attributes like the name, platform type, description, and availability. We can click the shortcut next to each resource to monitor, inventory, or manage the alert, or we can select several resources and create a group. Let's view our platforms. If we click a platform name, we can see details like the owner, IP, OS vendor, and version. Next, we have drop-downs to see our system map, or access tools to configure and manage the platform and alerts. Next down, we can monitor indicators and metric data and see the platform's resources at a glance. On the right, we can view, edit, and manage the platform inventory attributes. Next is the Alerts tab, where we can list, add, modify, and delete alerts associated with this platform. The last tab is the Views tab, where we can execute various system queries and get live information on things like CPU usage, disk space, network attributes and connections, current users and processes. Going back to the browse and choosing another resource, we can see the content of sections like resources and portions of the inventory will vary, and that a control tab will appear when you have the ability to perform actions like stopping and starting the resource. The first link on the Analyze dropdown is the Report link. Here we can run, view, and export a number of reports. Let's look at the Availability Downtime report. We can select a group of resources like agents, set the date range. We'll make it a brief one so we can see a quick report. Then set the display or export format, and let's pick HTML. And there we can see the availability and downtime of the agents in the agent resource group. The next link down in the Analyze tab is the HQ Alert Center. The default view is the listing of the alerts that have been triggered based on any alert definitions we created in the resource view. If we open up the date range to all week, we get a nice list. We can see the timestamp, the name, the affected resource and platform, whether it's been fixed or acknowledged, and the priority. We can also see that the alerts are color-coded so we can tell at a glance which ones have been fixed. If we click any of the column headers, we can sort the list. On the left, we can filter our list by status, type, priority, time, and by group. For example, let's look for all alerts, not fixed, group type alerts, of at least a medium priority, overall time, in any group. Note that every time we set a filter, the list auto-refreshes and repopulates. Just as with the Alerts portlet on the dashboard, if we click on an alert name, we're taken to the alert's details. We can click to view and edit the alert definition, the escalation scheme, and activity log. We can acknowledge the issue, and at the bottom we can add a note and mark the alert as fixed. From the Alert Center, we can also list all of our current alert definitions. We can see the name, when they were created or last modified, the last time the alert was triggered, the resource, the escalation scheme, and priority. Like the Alert tab, you can click on any column name to sort the list. On the left, we can also filter the list by definition type, exclude type-based alerts, or show only disabled definitions. The last link in the Analyze dropdown is the Event Center. Right now our filter is set to events occurring in the past 4 hours, and we can see we have one system event where someone logged into the listed resource. If we click on a resource name, we can go to the detailed health and management view of that resource. We can open up the filter to a week and get a lot more events, which we can then narrow down again by changing our minimum status and type. We can also filter by a single group or a group of groups. Let's go ahead and click on the Administration tab. The Administration page is broken up into 4 sections. Up top we have Authentication and Authorization, where you can manage and create users and roles. Next we have the HQ Server System Settings, Default Monitoring Policies, and Escalation Schemes. Then we have the Plugin section, where we can see System, Database, and Agent Health, access the Groovy console, or access resources for the HQ API. The last section on this page is a display of the system license information. So let's go back and drill down into what we can do in some of these sections. Back up top, let's list our current users. Among others, we can see the HQ user we're currently logged in as and the guest user whose dashboard we saw in Chapter 1. Let's go ahead and create a new user. At the new user form, we add a name, password, and contact info for escalations and alerts. Once we've filled out at least the required fields, we can click OK and assign user roles. Let's add the user to the guest role, and if we return to the List User screen, we can find the new user. To delete that user, select it, click Delete, confirm, and they're gone. We can also list all of our roles from here. Let's go ahead and look at the guest role. Here we can see the name and description, the default permissions, the current users, assigned groups, and the alert calendar. So let's add a new role. We're at a simple form where we can name and describe the role, and we can set the privileges per resource, or we can click to check them all. There's our new role, and to delete the role, just as with the user, we select it and click delete. We confirm and it's no longer listed. Note that any users that were part of this role are still in the system. Well, that wraps it up for the Hyperic HQ 4.0 Enterprise Overview video. And you can find this and other videos and resources and documentation, or download the Enterprise trial at www.hyperic.com.